streams and channels, you know, and all the different media platforms, although you don't generally have the data necessary to fight churn on a streaming platform. But yeah, pretty much every company that wants the customer to come back again, you can view that as a churn problem.
All right. I guess we should have covered that at the very beginning of the stream. Your live streams are kind of untraditional, right? I mean, I guess most people live streaming are gaming, and if they're not gaming, they're traveling around. But you're really sitting there programming.
Yeah, well, there is a big category of programming streamers. You know that, right?
Yeah, sure.
I'm not the only data scientist, and I'm certainly not the most popular. I'm glad that you like my stream, but yeah, there are other data science live streams, and a lot of people code in live streams too. So I got turned on to it, honestly, by my publisher, you know, the publisher of the book. They have their Manning Publications. They have their own Twitch channel, and they regularly have their authors, you know, go onto it. And when they first asked me about it, I had the same reaction like you. I was like, I thought Twitch is gaming, and I was not even signed up to Twitch, so I only knew about Twitch. Again, dating myself, from my kids. I have kids who are the age that they watch a lot of gaming on Twitch and YouTube. But so I thought it was only gaming until my publisher said, "Hey, do you want to do this with us?" Oh my God, Matty Two Shoes. See, he's another data streamer and a friend of mine. Glad to see you're watching this, Matty. But yeah, there are programming streams. I got turned on to it by my publisher, and the other thing that happened with me is this was right when COVID hit. My book was supposed to come out in like the spring of 2020. It was like the countdown to the book launch. I had a whole bunch of in-person conferences lined up where I was going to go on like a little tour, you know, supporting the book, and everything got canceled, of course. And so that was when I was like, wow, maybe I should spend some more time. You know, I did one live stream with a publisher, and then it was, okay, I can actually do more of this. And since I can't do number one, I can't do anything else to support the book in the year that it was coming out. And number two, it's just a good thing to do from home, because I'll be honest that before streaming, there were times when I traveled a long distance to present to a very small audience. Like once I traveled across the country to speak to a room of 12 people. And after that, I was like, oh my God, that's not really an efficient use of my time. But it's like you can get an audience that size from your own home. So it's like, why travel?
So how much prep do you do? I mean, some of the streams seem very much examples from your books.
Yeah, I'm pretty structured in what I do. Well, I've actually done both. I've done most of my streams that have ended up being structured, I'll be honest, because I didn't get as many viewers interested when I was doing kind of unstructured. A lot of programmers do something unstructured, like, hey, I'm just going to hack out some project. And I did streams like that, but I definitely had less interest from viewers. So I fell back to being more structured, where I would prepare a certain section of material from the book, and I try to come up with new examples that go beyond the book. So typically my best formula is to do like a live stream, which is 80% structured, and I just do examples from the book. And then at the end, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to do something new that wasn't in the book. And then I do like a live hack session where I really just kind of, that's actually the most challenging, actually, because then there's the pressure to get it right and like not look stupid with a stupid bug on a live stream.
You seem so brilliant when, you know, if I hadn't read the book and like, wait, is this from the book again? You know, everything you do works.
Well, the examples from the book always work. My least popular streams were probably the ones when I was converting the book into a Python package, and there's like so many little bugs, and like I can't believe anyone even like stayed on watching those streams when I was just like bug hunting and trying to get my package to work. So
privacy. So I feel like a lot of your stuff, you're talking about sucking in all the events of everything everyone does. in order to analyze it. Now, GDPR and stuff, that seems like a lot of private data or potentially private data.
Actually, the good news is that the most private data is usually not that helpful for churn. Most of the data that we work with for churn can be completely anonymized. It should be completely anonymized. And it's kind of like this customer ID logged in at this time, this customer ID used such and such a feature, this customer ID used so many gigabytes of their data plan. And that can all be completely anonymous. And it should be. And PII, which is, well, of course, you never want to take PII in any form, but there's kind of borderline PII also, like location that, that someone lives is kind of borderline PII, depends on how specifically. But the truth is, like, geographic, demographic data is usually the least useful for churn. Like, many people naturally gravitate to that. Like, oh, maybe we're better in certain regions, or maybe we're better with certain demographics. Usually, as a data scientist, what I find is that if you have behavioral data, which again can be completely anonymized, it should be completely anonymized, and then you will put it in a model together with personal data, the personal data is always unimportant. It's all, the behavior really tells you if someone likes your service or not. Like, are they logging in? Are they using it? So fortunately for churn, the PII is less important and usually can be emitted. Sometimes it gives you a little extra. I'm not going to lie. Although you shouldn't be, of course, using true PII, which is like, phone numbers and names. That's not useful for churn anyway. Like, we don't need to know who you are to know if you're going to churn. We need to know how much you're logging in and using, and possibly demographic data might help a little bit, but.
All right, so Quiet Galaxy asks, so it's a misconception that companies need a consumer profile and a name to effectively sell.
Well, definitely to do predictive analytics about what someone's going to do, you generally need to track a user across multiple sessions, anonymously, of course, which implies, well, some kind of cookie, or if it's a free product, or login or sign up. Otherwise it is pretty hard to do predictive analytics if you don't know, because you need to track what people do and then later see what the outcome is as far as purchases or churn. And I don't know about, again, well, you need a name or contact info to sell something, but to do predictive analytics, you need to know something about people. And some people don't want to be predicted, which I can understand. I generally set my cookies to allow usually it's like the performance cookies are the ones which track, like they call it, when they give you the choice of cookies, it's like required, performance, targeting. I always turn off the targeting, but the performance cookies are usually the ones which collect that anonymous data. User 123 initiated a download. User 123 did this. And it helps companies monitor the performance of different aspects of their service, of course. And it is what allows you to know that, oh, customer 123, came back. Customer 456, oh, they churned. And that's what allows you to put all that data together.
Raul is asking, about your book, who should be the ideal reader? Like a complete new to data science or some intermediate level?
Well, I really wrote the book for someone who's completely new at data science so that they could, make sense of it. And that was at the advice of my publisher. When I first had the idea for writing the book, I thought I would write a really advanced book to impress my data science friends. But my publisher set me straight and was like, no, you have to write a book for a very basic reader. Because why? Because there's more of them. So my publisher insisted that I start, at a really basic level. And also Manning Publications has a whole cognitive education, I don't even know what it is, strategy, or, they basically have certain standards that you're supposed to follow to make sure that it's understandable to people Now that said, so I do think you could use my book literally as a first data science course. It would be a first data science course devoted to churn. You do need to know how to program Python and SQL. I can't teach you those before you start, but if you already know Python and SQL, my book will literally serve as a first data science course from start to end. Now,
I was going to say, you definitely assume people know SQL. And yeah, I thought definitely. I knew SQL, and I learned a few things, actually. You have some crazy queries as we get deeper and deeper into the book. But that's good. It's good. I learned.
Yeah, a lot of people in the field, you know, a lot of people who are in my field do. I mean, it is a good practice to take full advantage of SQL because there's so much stuff that people, be honest, a lot of people do in Python pandas that they should really be doing in SQL. And people find that out when your data set gets bigger than around 500,000 rows. Like, you're all good in Python pandas with 10,000, 20,000, 100,000. And then once you're getting close to 1 million, you're like, holy crap, pandas is not a high performance big data processing tool. But yeah, so definitely SQL. A lot of people like techniques like that nowadays in the field, and it's much better than Python. And about experience, I mean, I do have to admit that if you do have data science experience, you'll probably get more from the book. Because, you know, you won't be struggling to get the basics, and you'll kind of pick up the finer points which are specific to churn if you have some data science experience. And particularly in the later chapters, like on the chapter on machine learning, I give like a 2-paragraph introduction to like decision trees and gradient boosting, which are, you know, are some of the state-of-the-art techniques. And then I just show you the Python and how to use it for churn. And if that was really your first introduction to those topics, it would be pretty tough. You know, you'd have to take my word for it, you know, for a lot of things that it would be good to, you know, double check on.
Yeah. All right. So here is a big question for both of you. Data science has too many concepts and new information research is added pretty often. But if you guys have to use the 80-20 rule to understand concepts and get your foot in a job, what would you guys do?
What are the core, the 20% of data science that you should learn to get started with? Probably a good use of the Python kind of standards, you know, sklearn. The thing is, the problem with data science now is you even need to specialize what type of data science. All my work on churn and also at OfferFit, we fall into the realm of what we call like structured data, which basically means tabular data typically about customers. You know, you have 1 row per customer or something like that in your data file. Now, that's one field of data science. And if you want to get going in that, I would say you really need to learn gradient boosting, because that's the most common, you know, data science machine learning technique that we use nowadays for structured data. On the other hand, if you're interested in language processing, well, everyone knows nowadays, Chat GPT, transformer models, those are the big thing in language processing, and it's completely different. So definitely for data science, you need to kind of pick a field. And I give this advice to people on their resumes too. Like, when you apply for a data science job, you want to know what type of data science, which is basically either vision, language processing, or structured data. Audio processing is less common as well. It's similar to image processing. So you kind of have to figure out which field you're trying to get into, and then don't make your resume be like a generalist resume showing I know a little bit from each category. You want to show strength in the category that particular job opening is for. So if it's an NLP job, you want to show that you know about, you know, Chat GPT and the latest transformers. If it's a structured data job, don't tell me about your Chat GPT experience. I want to see gradient boosting. And if it's images, you know, you want to show experience with one of the deep learning frameworks, PyTorch or TensorFlow. So you really do have to be specific and then find that maybe that's a big part of finding the 20% rather than the 80% is just focusing on one area. Hope that kind of answers the question. I probably talked for too long, but
so I don't pretend to be a data scientist. I just, am trying to keep up to have some idea what people are talking about. One thing I did that was super helpful was I took an online class on statistics. Older data scientists don't even mention it because it's just assumed that you understand standard deviation and bimodal. So to start, if you don't know any statistics and somehow,
that is a really good point.
I have a degree in computer science and we never touched statistics somehow.
And
I took all these math classes and wasn't any.
Let me go a little bit deeper on that, specifically to learn regression, which is often taught not in a statistics class, but maybe an econometrics class. And I am actually guilty. I started studying machine learning and neural networks a long time ago. I mean, my story is I started studying it before it was popular. I think I took my first machine learning course in 1999. So really dating myself. But I also made the mistake of I dove right into neural networks and I was like, wow, neural networks are so cool. But I never actually learned regression until later on. It was kind of like, oh, wow, I really should have learned this first because so much is based on that classical regression model as just like a benchmark, for things.
Right. Yeah. So I think some of those basics, before you get into the really high tech stuff, have some idea what you're even trying to accomplish.
Yeah. So our list so far was basic statistics, including econometrics, the basic Python packages like sklearn, and then getting into whatever particular type of data science you need to focus on, like structured data, language processing, or vision.
So your setup for streaming, what software do you use? What kind of microphone do you use?
I'm not that great. I'm honestly not super advanced in my streaming. I use Streamlabs OBS, which I think is still kind of standard. And I just have a Logitech camera. What is this? A HyperX solo mic. And I'll actually be honest, I waited too long to invest in my streaming setup. That was actually, I think, a mistake I made because I started out when I was just like, oh, I'll just start streaming. I'll see how it goes. I don't want to spend any money on it because I don't know if I'm going to, do it that much. But now the result is that some of my oldest streams, which were pretty good otherwise, they have terrible sound quality.
Yeah, sound quality, it's more important than video quality, right?
Yeah. I think I should have invested in the mic first, even if I wasn't sure how much streaming I was going to do. If I could give my past self that advice, I would say, go ahead, get that mic,
Yeah, I think that's right. I think if you're only going to buy one thing, buy a microphone.
Yeah. But I stream on a Mac too, which I think is also something of a disadvantage. I mean, most people I assume are on Windows, like a gamer.
Yeah, I'm on a Mac here. But...
Oh, you are? Okay. So I'm not the only one.
Yeah. Ecamm is pretty nice as far as Mac software for doing a lot of the same stuff that OBS does. It's not free, but they've really made Mac software for streaming. It's pretty nice.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still on the free version because as I mentioned, I mean, my main occupation is not being a streamer. It's being a manager of a machine learning engineering team. So
that's right. Yeah, so Maddie's saying that being on a Mac used to be a disadvantage, but with the M1 and M2 chips, they're more than powerful enough. Yeah, so I'm on an M1 Mac here, and it is plenty powerful enough.
I'm still on an Intel. Yeah, all right, I'm planning to upgrade. The upgrade is coming, any day now.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified when we post more tech talks, interviews, and tutorials.